All right. It's been a while since I made a video. I am far busier than I thought I'd be here. Not that I'm doing a whole lot of different things, just that at the end of the day, I only have like a couple hours, and I usually use that time to just kind of relax. So I get up in the morning and I go to the gym, and then I come back and I get ready for work. And then we'll go down to eat, work, come back, and then we have like it's kind of weird because everybody eats late here. Everything kind of just imagine your day and then just shift it like 4 hours. That's what happens here. Everybody eats dinner at like 8, 9. Us eating dinner at like 7:30 when the restaurant's open for dinner is pretty early. But I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think that you'd much rather run all your errands and stuff during the day that you have to run that day in the morning. So not coming into work till like 9 or 10 makes a lot more sense, or stores not opening until like 11 make a lot more sense when you have some things to get done before it becomes 100 and something degrees. Um, but I didn't want to talk today about. I actually say went out on a little adventure this morning. It was actually a little before. It was like 10 to 11. I was out there for a couple hours, just kind of walking around, checking out the surrounding areas. Wherever I went, I was always within like view of the mall. The mall and the hotel are pretty tall, so they're not hard to spot from a distance. Um, but I just want to talk about like the people that I've been meeting, and everyone's really nice. I really haven't had a lot of negative experiences. Some difficult ones, which are mostly just about communication, but nothing negative. No one's been mean or rude to me. Much like Seattle, no one knows how to use an elevator. It's very frustrating. They'll hit the up button and then get on the elevator and then touch a floor that's lower than you, and you're like, why are you doing this to me personally? Um, it's actually kind of interesting. They've remembered our names. A couple like an hour ago, the guy came in to clean my room, and he was cleaning my room, and he walked back out to his cart, and a cleaning lady came over. Quick aside, um, there's like a weird social gender thing, so that we were actually warned like if I was gonna go and get like medicine or something like that, I needed someone from work to go with me to ask one of the guys because a guy and a girl going somewhere together, even if it's the pharmacy, means something socially. So it's easier just to go with guys. So it's always a guy cleaning our room. And so a lady walks over to the guy and she says something in Tamil, and she's like something, Justin Portner. And I'm like, oh, I know that word. I guess words. Um, and that's actually, where was I even going with that? Anyway, everyone's been really nice. It was actually kind of interesting. Both Portner and I have been pulled aside in a moment. They got me during breakfast, and they got him today when we were like down at the front desk asking some questions. And they took our picture, and I don't know why or what for. And so at one point in time, we were in the mall, and they've got like a jumbotron where they show cricket and stuff. And Priya, one of the developers, was telling us that Barb, one of the developers from the previous team, who is from Seattle, back in Seattle now, is her pictures up on the jumbotron in like this cycle of this gallery photo. What phrase am I looking for? Like a photo slide show. All right. But they were in, I guess, the food court, and they were like, "Oh, it's opening. We're gonna take pictures of people like enjoying the thing." And they're like, "Oh, this person, I'll take their picture as well." So now Barb's on the jumbotron like every 3 minutes, which is kind of funny. Um, so they pulled aside, took our pictures. I don't know what they're using it for, but that's where I was going with that story before. They've memorized our names. They know our names. Every time uh, we have to go get like our food vouchers, like, hey, I'd like to eat food, please. And they're like, oh, and then Mr. Robert and Mr. Justin. So they know our names, but we're pretty recognizable. And we're going to be here for 3 months, so I get it. Um, so the service is really nice. Everyone's great. And by the service is really nice, I mean everywhere there is service and it's like top quality. You have your personal shoppers and stuff like that. There's also a lot of staring. It's not as socially rude here to stare, so I'll be standing in the mall, I'll be talking to Justin, and I'll look over, and as I scan, I just make eye contact with like 10 different people who were looking at me, having a conversation, which is like whatever. It doesn't bother me, um, but it does make you. There are times where if you are uncomfortable or anxious, if you were like feel like, oh, I don't know if I don't feel good here, and then you look out and you realize like 10 people are staring at you, it makes you more uncomfortable. I've gotten used to it by now, but like the first week was really hard. um, Kind of funny, at work I wasn't recognized at first, and it was actually like my whole travel trip has been like not being recognized, because I got my passport last year, and then that was at like like 120 pounds ago, because I got it like 320 and I'm like 180 now, so it's like 150 pounds ago I got my passport. So my photo doesn't look exactly like me. And then I have my driver's license, which I got like a couple months ago, which looks mostly like me, pretty much like me. And then I got my visa like just like a week before I left, so the visa picture looks like me. So we were in the airport on the way out, actually, in Seattle, and I handed my passport to the TSA agent. She opens to the first page, and she's like, and she opens it to the visa. She's like, "Oh, nice. You're good." That was it. That was the whole interaction. But I get that a lot. So we have these Lync, LYNC is like a Microsoft instant message program we use. It like integrates with like Outlook, and you have profiles on it. So I have a picture on Lync that was taken like a year and a half ago, closer to when I was hired. And apparently they were looking like they have this presentation slideshow in actually all the lobbies of the branches. There's like a presarios. They like hey, it's Easter, share this one, whatever. So when we came in, that TV was showing like, welcome Justin, welcome Robbie. And they looked me up on Lync and they're like, oh, that's not him. And then they looked me up on Facebook and they're like, this isn't adding up. This doesn't add up. And so we're not looking. I didn't look like me. I really want to update my Lync picture because. So they were all amazed. Yesterday at lunch, I showed them pictures from like Jeff's wedding and like graduation and stuff like that. That's not you. That's Photoshop. I don't believe it. Which is flattering and hard to convince them that I'm like, no, that's me. I just made some changes. And everyone's like, wow, show me. I'm like, there's an app. And they're like, link me the app. Do whatever it was that you did. I want to do that. So it's fun telling them about like counting calories. That's all I did. Harish, our local IT, said that we were standing in the lunchroom like the first week I was here. He's like, you look like someone from Harry Potter. I'm like, oh, I hope it's someone attractive. Which I laughed at, and he was all like, but he couldn't remember the character's name. And then like an email, a while later I got an email that was a picture of Seamus Finnegan and then a picture of me from Lync. And he's like, this does not look like you. You look like you now. And I was like, oh, all right, that's not a bad comparison. I don't know if I agree necessarily that I look like Seamus Finnegan, but he's not a bad looking guy. So I'm like, all right, fair enough. I'm good with that. If that's what I look like, A+. Walking around is kind of interesting because I will have also I have clearly I was like, oh, I'll make 2-minute videos. No, I fucking won't. That's not gonna happen. Let's all be honest. I can't shut up. So I'm walking around, and you used to get like a lot of just random calls for help. So I was walking down the street, and I was just kind of like, oh, looking around. So when I went out, I'm like, all right, there's a lot of people out there, and I don't want people to harass me. I just want to go and explore. So I was like, all right, square your shoulders up. Be outside, look like you know where you're going, don't look concerned, but don't look like people don't smile at people in almost any other country. Like the same thing with like Germany, people weren't like smiling at me, they'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, and same thing here. I guess it's weird to smile at people. I don't know if it's showing the teeth, it's threatening or something like that. They're not like cats or something, I don't know. But yeah, this security guard on this other side of the gate, which I don't even know, like, it was like a wall, and then there were, like, wrought iron bars, and he's, like, 20 feet on the other side of the wall, and I'm, like, just on this side of the wall, just walking on the sidewalk, and I look over, and I make eye contact, because he's staring at me, and I make eye contact for a second, he's like, hello, sir, can I help you? I'm like, with what? What could you possibly help me with? And I went, it was kind of funny, actually, I was trying to go to one mall, because I walked outside our mall, and I could see, the Rahavit? Oof, I don't remember the name. The Rahavit Mall. Oh, I'll go check that out. I'll go see what that's about. It's a shopping mall. I know I'm allowed inside. I'll go see what it's about. And then I went, and I found a different mall. I missed. I was like, I'm gonna go there, and then I found a different one. But while I was walking around that mall, 2 different people asked me, like, are you lost? Do you need directions? It was actually like, hello, sir, directions? And I'm like, no. I don't know where I'm going. I couldn't be like, point me to something interesting to look at, Not that it wasn't interesting to look at there. That was just what I was there for. Which reminds me, like, there's passphrases. There's a lot of English here. Most of the signage in the mall is in English. Almost all of it. It's all bilingual if you've been to like Canada or Germany or whatever. A lot of it's bilingual. But a lot of it's in English, so I don't. It's not hard to like be like, oh, I know what that's for. I know what that's for. I know what that's for. All the labeling's in English. It's really easy to get along, and people speak varying degrees of English. But I've learned that there's like passphrases. So like if I want, they charge you for bottled water, but they'll bring clean, drinkable water and just pour it into your glass if you want. So it's water bottle, not bottled water. Water bottle gets you a bottle of water, and regular water gets you a glass of water. And I always like, if like that's the glass, I always go like regular water. I touch the glass and they go, yeah, I know. And like generally like the servers, people who are sitting or stuff like that will speak a lot more English because they're like greeting you. But like people who are like cleaning the tables or just bringing you water or something like that, they might not speak a ton of English. Same with the people in our office. They ask if we want like coffee or tea and stuff, and I say no, and they look at me weird because I don't know, I just don't like. It's hot enough. I don't need to pour hot things in my body. Everything's hot anyway. It's actually not that bad. Walking around, it's like low mid 90s is what it's been. Everyone's like, it's gonna get hotter, and I'm like, whatever, fine. But everything's air conditioned, so it's only an issue really when you're actually outside, which is not that often. So I learned these passphrases like regular water and no. No is a very important passphrase because like I was walking around. I just wanted more socks. With working out and stuff like that, I want to switch socks, but I didn't bring 30 pairs of socks. I only own 30 pairs of socks. And a lot of the socks I did own were like wool socks because I bought them for winter and disc golfing, and I didn't want to bring like thick wool socks with me because Jesus Christ. That was annoying. Just unplugging speakers because they go weird. So I was walking around the mall and I was like, okay, let me price things because there's local brands, there's local stores, and then there's like universal brands or like American brands. So if you go to an American store selling American brands, you're not really saving any money. It's kind of essentially what you'd pay at home. Not because they charge more here, but just because the import tax is so high. So, but if you go to a local store, they'll charge less for American brands and even less for local brands. So there are some good local brands. Like I was told Raymond, if I'm going to go get some like shirts fitted and stuff like that, tailored, I guess is the phrase. And so I was like, go with Raymond. They're local, and you guys might be thinking silk, but it's actually northern India that's all silk. It's like Silk Road, Kashmir, that area up there. That's all silk. Kashmir's not silk, but that's all like silk up there. Down here, it's much more cotton. They're very good at cotton. So people are like, oh, bring us silk scarves, and I'm like, no, I'll bring you amazing cotton scarves. So I was looking for like the cotton shirts and like socks and stuff like that I can get for local brands that are really great. But I walk in and I'm looking for like socks and underwear and stuff like that, and someone's just kind of like hovering. And if you touch a pair of socks, I'm like, oh, what are these about? They'll grab them, and then they'll grab them in another size, and then they'll grab like a similar pair, and then they'll grab like a totally different pair just to provide variety. Like they're providing a service, but at the same time, I'm like, this is one of 10 stops today, so don't get crazy with it. So you really have to be assertive. You have to learn the word no. It's actually kind of funny because there's a lot of times where someone will kind of walk up to me and I'll turn to them and be like, how's it going? And they'll be like, oh. And they'll back off. Like as long as I acknowledge their existence, they'll back off. I don't know the interaction exactly, but that's what I found works so far. But a lot of times I feel bad because I walked into the store, I looked at some socks, and I was like, okay, now I know what this store offers. Because there's like 15 clothing stores in the mall, and I'm like, oh, I want to look at all of them. And I walk in and I look at the socks and I go, okay, I have an idea of what's here. I'm gonna go to the next one. And by the time I'm ready to leave, there's just a guy following me with an armload of socks, and I have to go like, thank you, no, and then I have to leave because they'll try and sell me on everything I walk past. Politely, nicely, but unnecessarily. I'm looking for socks. I'm pricing socks. I'm not shopping for an entire wardrobe. So being assertive and saying no is really important. But everyone's really nice, and a lot of times you kind of have to I feel rude because people are engaging me, and I can't engage back because I just don't. There's not enough time in the day to have a full to kind of like how should I say, to like allow them to sell things to me like politely. Like every once in a while I've been in the mall and like someone walks up and they're like, I'm mildly interested in whatever the kiosk is offering, so I let the person do the spiel because I'm like, there's like a 50% chance I'm actually going to buy something, so I'll let them do their spiel. and then I'll get what I want. I can't let them do their spiel here, because if I let them do their spiel, I'll never get anything done, because they'll spend half an hour doing spiel, and then the other 13 employees will do the same thing. That's kind of funny, because I did my exploration, and then like the stores open about 11, and then I was in the big mall, the Vieja Mall, at like 11:30, which is like right when they're kind of getting ready. So as I was walking around looking at socks, there was one person helping me, and I could look over and I could see like the different floor meetings that were happening as I walked around the mall for like the bigger stores. And so you get all your employees together, which I think in America it would be like, like 8 people, but there's like 30 people who are gonna work in a department store that has like a section for shirts and a section for pants and then a section for suits and a section for sleepwear, which is code for underwear and socks. And I kid you not, like 30 people working in that store, and it's always very weird to me. I get it; it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it's not. It's weird to see. I see like a floor meeting. I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of people. No wonder this guy's following me. It's his job. So I don't take offense to anything. Everything's well meant. Everything's polite. Everything is kind. But it does get a bit much, which is ironic because I think the one thing that I'm missing more than anything else, like the food here is fantastic. The bed's nice. Work is work. I still have access to the internet, so most things are pretty much the same. What I miss most is small talk, just having conversations with people. Which is, if I'm texting you incessantly, that's why. I miss small talk, and because all the interactions I have are either pointed sales oriented discussions, or it's like a service industry thing. Like they're not like, hey, how's it going? How was your day? And I'm doing well. How are you doing? And they're like, it doesn't matter. Back to you. And I'm like, no, talk to me. I do get that at work. Everyone at work's really sociable and fun and really nice. But it's still work. Like I still have to be this like gatekeeper of like quality, which is so they're so excited. This is kind of rambling. I don't even know what I'm going to title this. Just probably talks about nothing for 17 minutes, or it's 17 minutes so far, but it's going to be like fucking half an hour by the time I'm done. No, so I came in and it's a very competitive culture. And so they're very excited to do more. They're like, I'm ready to do the next translation. And I'm like, how about this one? And they're like, great, I'll do that. I'm also ready to do 2 more. I want to start 3 pipelines. They like saying the word pipeline. I want 3 pipelines. And I'm like, okay, relax. Here's some maps you can work on. And it's fine. I want them to do that because when they get to project work, that's we do. We'll have even when I'm doing like suites and stuff like that, I'll have like 5 to 10 projects running at the same time. So them doing multiple maps at the same time and needing to be able to keep that in their head and differentiate, because there's a lot of similarities and key differences. Because even though 2 translations might be 95% the same, the devil's in the details, and that 5% very much matters. So them with the 3 pipelines, perfectly fine. But they want to finish them very quickly. They're very excited to finish them very quickly and get on to the next one. And I have to go, stop. We're not on a tight timeline here. The migrations can take a little bit more time, and I'm almost like this gatekeeper of quality. And it's very difficult because the person I'm relieving, Brent, he and I are on like opposite spectrums of the like document formatting allowed. I mean, we both hit all the requirements. Both of our maps are functionally correct, but I spend more time than he does on the map because I try and make it look good. So I trim out unnecessary white space. I make sure things are laying together nicely. Just formatting. His maps make sense. I'm not trying to denigrate his maps. It's what I'm doing is 100% appearance based, and it's hard because they picked up a lot of his habits where all of their logic, all of their tables, everything in the map is correct. It's correct and complete, which is fantastic. But it's not appealing to look at, and at times that makes it a little more difficult to read, because, and I don't think that appearance is a vice in technical documentation, and I don't think that that's a stretch either. So I'm constantly trying to like, hey, you can use different like colors and fonts and not like 30 in the map, but like if you want to, this concept here should be bolded, and this can be underlined, or if you make an example, tab it in and bold the word example, but then don't bold the entire example. There's these things that you can make to make your document easier to read, easier to scan, which is important because most of the time you don't read these documents for content. Sorry, I should say. You don't read them for fun, you read them for content. So I end up being this like gatekeeper of quality because they churn out quantity fine. But it does make it a bit more difficult on me because it's a very nuanced thing to explain, and I have found, and I'm not surprised by, but they don't like me taking control for a second. I was like, it's way easier if I just show you what I mean. And it's a weird position to be in because I read through their maps and I'll go, oh yeah, this is all complete and correct, but it could be better. And it's a hard thing to sell them on, and it's a hard thing to show them on. And so I think I'm going to break out some of my maps and delicately show to them like, hey, here's my table. It fits on one page because I've deleted all of the unnecessary information in whitespace. Here's your table. It stretches over 4 pages. Mine is easier to read. I have to get them into this idea that like you're not writing, this isn't the final product. This is a transitionary product. You're providing documentation. If you were coding and you were the only person who was going to look at the code, it's a different story. I mean, you should always comment your code. Jesus Christ, please comment your code if you're developing. But it's a different story. This is a transitionary document. This is a document that needs to live for a long time, and it's only meant to communicate ideas. So if you're not presenting your information in a way that's easy to understand and read and easy to scan and is consistent throughout the entire document, you could be more effective. And so that's what I'm aiming for. And I haven't figured out how to do that perfectly yet. And it's something I'm just getting into really this week. This week was all map reviews, which is like they write the map and I review them. And by the time I got here, the other they know what they're doing. They're knowledgeable. Their questions are really on the weird stuff. The I've never seen this before kind of stuff, or I've never done that before. Or can you provide an example? That kind of stuff is where my knowledge is coming in. But I'm trying to provide more service than that. Which brings me to this weird thing. This is going to get a little inside baseball, but we have these weekly conference calls with management, and I had sat in on the previous group's calls, and they were very succinct in the communication they were providing, which, as you can see from the video length, is not something I suffer from. So I had asked these questions so the first call was with both groups, and it was very like, how you guys transitioning, how you guys doing, and it was very quick and to the point, and I was fine with that. But in my head, I was like, oh, I want to ask these more questions. I want to ask more in-depth questions because while I'm here, we can do map review. I don't need help with map reviews, and if I do, I'll let you know over an email because the help I will need will be do this map review for me because I have 4 other ones that I need to do, and I won't have time to do them. If I have six managers plus the manager here on a conference call for half an hour, I'm not going to waste your time with I'm reading maps and it's going well. I just think it's not an effective use of our time. So I was asking these questions and these more like meta high level questions, and it did not go over. It was this combination of they weren't sure what I was asking, they weren't sure why I was asking, and then once we got past those 2 hurdles, they didn't have answers, which was very frustrating because here's one example. It was like before I came over here, I really didn't felt like I had any idea who I was working with. When we hire a new analyst, especially within your team, you introduce them to everybody. You walk them around, you introduce them to everybody. It's a very social experience. You're like, hey, this is Robbie. He's a son of a gun, whatever. And that's the tone in the office, which is really nice and it's fun, and that's why I enjoy working for Expeditors. But there was no communication between Chennai and Seattle like that. We had gotten these like, hey, we hired 4 analysts. Here are their names. And then when asked to introduce themselves, they get very professional. they get very like, I learned X from Y location for Z amount of time. Then I learned X2 from Y2 for Z2. And it's like, that's not interesting. It's, thank you, but this is not an interview. I want to know who you are. And we actually went over that Monday. We had like a short meeting where Portner and I talked about ourselves, and then they went around, and when Portner and I were talking about ourselves, like Portner was talking about his son, and I was talking about my, I graduated from college and I lost weight, and it was very personal, and we touched about like how long we've been working at Expeditors, but then when they went around the table and they were introducing themselves, it was very dry, it was very vanilla, it was very like, I did this for that amount of time, and I was like, that's not what we're looking for. So I wanted, and then as far as I know, there was nothing coming back from Seattle, no introductions at all. They don't know who's over there, which is kind of funny because they're working on these people's maps now and they're communicating with these people now about like, we need to change that translation, but you're in the middle of migrating it, so you finish migrating it, and then I'll jump in and change that translation with this new change that the client needs because it's not a big deal. They're having these conversations with people that they've never met and have no idea who they are, and I wanted to change that. So I asked something like, do you have any ideas or comments on ways we can bridge the gap? And we had a couple ideas, like we can get new link pictures for the people who are here so that when they're sending emails and stuff like that, you see who they are, and putting a face with a name is just infinitely better. And so we had some ideas, but on the management call, it was like, oh yeah, that's a thing that we know that we're going to have to address. And it's like, that was so unrewarding. And I actually I had this feeling, and afterwards everyone was like, that's not what happened. But in the meeting, I was so like crestfallen inwardly, because I was asking, and I only asked like 3 questions. I asked like these questions, like how can we help bridge that social gap? Here's a couple ideas. What do you think? And the response I got was so non-existent and so stilted that what I felt like was, I felt like I had overreached, where they had sent me here to do that, and I was all like, what about this? And they were like, that's not your job, stop embarrassing yourself. So I got off the call and I felt really shitty about myself, and then like 4 different people messaged me and they're like, holy shit, I'm sorry, those were fair questions and we just didn't have answers. And made me feel better, but it's hard to get rid of that like panic embarrassment in front of your boss, and then all of your boss's colleagues, and your boss and your boss's boss's boss, on the call. And then my temporary boss is in the room with me, and the first group's there, and they're like, yeah, we didn't ask any of these stupid questions. So I had that like grime, that like shame grime on me, and everyone was like, oh, no, that's not what that was. And I was like, still feels like it though. But I shook it off. And I don't know how I'm going to take that forward, because I feel like if I came here and I spent 85 days just doing map reviews, there's an opportunity cost that I'm missing, which is why I'm going exploring, and next weekend we're going to Pondicherry, which I'll take a ton of pictures and tell you guys about later. But I think there's an opportunity cost of being here. There's a few reasons why I came to India. And I want to make the most of it, because I'm only here for an amount of time, and I honestly, I don't see myself ever coming back. It's nice here. I like it here, but it wasn't high on my list of things I want to see. So when it was offered to me, I said yes, and I was excited, and I'm happy to be here, but I'm probably not going to come back. And if I do come back, it almost certainly won't be in the same capacity. I'm not going to come back and do this again. So we're at the end of week 2. We're like 15% of the way through this already, and I'm like, there's a lot more I can do. Map reviews is a waste, if that's all I can accomplish. I haven't figured that out either. I don't know. I think my next track will be to ask one question, and have essentially like kind of the inverse of, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. It's easier to defend an idea than to fish for one. So I'm going to go into the next meeting and say, we need to bridge the social gap. Here's the 3 things I'm going to do. Here's what I need from you to do those 3 things. Let me know if this is an issue, and then proceed onward. Just do it. I think that's going to be the right track. That's hard, because that means I have to come up with all the solutions and all the implementation of those solutions. It's really my own fault. Uh, but I'm looking forward to it. I want to leave here having experienced a lot and having accomplished a lot. Because those are the two primary reasons I came. For my career and for my own experience. And like getting out today and exploring. Oh, check out the face. Oh, and so if you're looking at pictures on Facebook, that's only like half the pictures. I don't want to spam a ton, so there's a lot more. The best ones are going on Facebook. But check out my Instagram as well, because a lot of them are going there too. Um, but anyway, so like it's about like like this is a good career move. I'll get a lot of experience, helping out the department, and then it's also like this really awesome opportunity to go live in another country for 3 months. So I'm really making sure I'm really taking steps to make sure that I get the most out of both of those opportunities. Yeah. I think that's it for now. I have like a list of things to talk about. I guess this one started with social, but that's all. That all is. Everything I talked about was kind of social. Um, I miss you guys. I don't miss the rain. I do miss it not being a bajillion degrees. I love the fact that I lost all my insulation before coming here. Because even when I'm walking around and I'm getting like, oh, I'm thirsty, I need to get some water, which I am drinking a ton of water while I'm here, Jesus. Um, while I'm walking around outside, I'm like, it's like 90 degrees. It's 11 a.m. Uh, it is hot. It is very hot. And if I weighed 450 pounds, I would not be able to stomach that. I would get like ill because I'm way colder now. Like I was just sitting at home. Like that was like the number one issue with losing weight is I'm just cold all the fucking time. Like constantly in Seattle, I was cold. Like I was wearing hoodies at work. I bring my hoodie to the office now because if I sit for too long, I get cold. Um, well, if I sat for too long, I was getting cold. Apparently, the air conditioning was pushing it like way below what they intended it to be. Like they were aiming for like 72 degrees, and they were hitting like 65. So sitting there at a computer for like 3 or 4 hours in 65-degree weather, or air, it's cold. But I'm walking around and I'm glad for having lost the weight because those sidewalks are tight fits and it's really hot out. Um, but it was fun. I was actually kind of worried. I was thinking like, oh, I might not get out and explore at all. And then I was like, oh wait, no, that's stupid. And then I did, and it went well. I mean, I didn't leave like sightline of the mall or anything. I only walked maybe a mile up the road and then a mile back. And it's very, we're actually kind of on the outskirts of the city, and it's very, very tightly packed. And you really have to you have to know where you're going. And sometimes you miss. Uh, but I'm gonna pick locations, like destinations. Like, kind of funny is, from the office, I can see like, oh, that looks like a really interesting temple. At the worst case scenario, I get a couple cool pictures of the outside, and that's how I'm gonna pick my locations.